And we're back for another episode of the Sports Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Jesse Norman, Stephen Clark, and Stephen Bologna. And we've had a rather quiet news cycle in the NFL since Championship Sunday, which saw the Bengals beating the Chiefs and the Rams beating the Niners. But, of course, with this being the NFL and, of course, being Super Bowl week, headlines are always being made. And today we had a bomb of a headline coming, which we kind of had a feeling was coming eventually because it was leaked on Saturday that Tom Brady obviously retired. And then an even more bomb of a headline that we had hit us, which we did not see coming at all, is that Brian Flores is suing the NFL for various reasons. And then we also had some other coaching news around the NFL that we'll get into. So, guys, what's going on? Quiet news day.
It's Super Bowl week, apparently. So that's cool.
That is.
It basically is.
Oh. I got excited for a second.
Who cares
Pro
about the
Bowl, baby.
Pro Bowl.
And Senior Bowl. He's locked into that for his mock.
I sent Jesse a nice tweet earlier.
I know.
Answer me.
I was taking a nap. Sue me.
You're
I like to
taking a
power
nap.
nap before these.
You have to get ready.
You have to prep.
Have to get ready. Make my board.
I'm looking at the Colts taking a quarterback second round. So
We don't have a first pick, so we can't.
second round.
Boy.
Bailey Zappi.
All right. So with that being
Carson
said,
Strong.
let's just get right into it. And of course, around 9:30 this morning, when everyone's kind of still waking up, the news came across on Twitter that Tom Brady has officially retired, and he posted on his Instagram basically the entirety of the Gettysburg Address on his Instagram, saying that he's officially done, thanking everyone but the New England Patriots fans organization and Robert Kraft and or Bill Belichick. So that was funny. So I kind of have a take on that we can get into. But Tom Brady retires.
He's going to sign with them. So
that's what I was going to say. I feel like this is kind of his second retirement because when he left New England, he kind of said goodbye. And then
he kind of did a big goodbye.
So this is kind of like his goodbye to Tampa Bay, I think, because he's been playing there. So that's kind of why that is. But some of the things Tom Brady retires with: most Super Bowl championships won by a single player, 7 of them. Which, okay, wow. 5 Super Bowl MVPs, 3 MVPs in the league, 2 Offensive Player of the Years, 15 Pro Bowls, and basically every single passing category that you could have: most passing yards, most passing touchdowns, most passing completions, most passes attempts, and most career wins by a quarterback.
He was all right.
Yeah, he wasn't too bad.
1,000-yard rusher.
Finally.
1,000-yard. He's all right,
Greatest to ever do it, J-Val.
There's no debate at this point. Early in college, before he basically went on his second dynasty, because at that point when we were in college, he had, what was it, 4 rings at that point?
He didn't have the Rams win.
Falcons.
And the Falcons, yeah.
And the Falcons, yeah.
And
no. Falcons. Falcons.
He had one of the Seattle ones going into that one, I think. I don't know.
Yes, he did.
He just had so many rings at that point. But, you could kind of fight people tooth and nail for like, oh, maybe Manning, maybe Montana. Because Peyton at least still had some records, and Montana had the
Breeze.
Super Bowls. Breeze, but it's and no,
Big
now you
Ben,
can't anymore. It's hands down. He is the greatest football player and quarterback of all time. And with Tom Brady retiring, this kind of closes the book on the era of football we grew up watching, as we are ushering into a whole new age of quarterbacks.
It's all up to Matt Ryan now.
Yeah, get him a ring.
Ryan and Rodgers,
Stafford
basically.
too, kind of.
Ryan and Rodgers, yeah.
More Ryan and
Stafford
Rodgers.
09. I mean, Stafford's been
I don't
11
consider
years.
Stafford
Sure, but
child.
Stafford just spent so many years with the Lions that it's just
That's why it feels like it's so much
Wash.
longer. But, you had Breeze and Rivers last year. You had Roethlisberger this year. Eli, Peyton, they've been on their way out for a while now. It's just like this is the last of the old breed of pocket pass quarterbacks that are gone.
and they ain't coming back.
No, not at all.
Oh, yeah, the more elusive guys now, but no, there's not much to say. I mean, he's the greatest, and there's probably no one else like him, plain and simple.
Yeah,
I don't think any other quarterback reaches 7 rings like that. Maybe, you never know, Mahomes, but I doubt it.
Mahomes
it's too early to tell. It's
if they can keep this team together for a long time, which I don't know if they can, maybe. And you assume Andy Reid's got to hang it up within the next few years as well. He's got to be pushing 70. So I am curious. Like, I want to know what drew Tom to Tampa. Like, why there?
Probably just the win now.
They were an 8-8 team the year before. Like,
yeah, but they had the cap space in the room. Well, they got a ring with it. That's the thing. It was probably
definitely.
He would probably have as much say on the roster as possible. He wanted Antonio Brown. They brought him in, even though it's turned into an entire disaster since the Jet game. They brought in Fournette. They made sure they brought everyone back as much as possible, and also he was
pretty well too.
Tom was literally the most winning quarterback, it seemed, every single year and had the best stats, but he at no point was ever the highest paid player in his position. Also, he got paid finally when he really went down there, because how many pay cuts did he keep taking to keep the Patriots together, to keep winning when he was there? A lot.
Yeah, definitely. But also I think that goes to show how much a quarterback means to a team. And I think anybody could have noticed that Tampa was being severely held back by Jameis. Obviously not the same thing, but look at when Peyton went to Denver. Yeah, they had just won a playoff game, but they barely made it. They got it in off Tebow's overtime thing. Then Peyton goes to Denver, and all of a sudden they're a dynasty and make it to 2 Super Bowls and win one. I think you can just look around the league and see teams that are significantly held back by their quarterbacks. And Tom went down to Tampa, won it in his first year, and I think that's really, I think, when the GOAT conversation, like, you couldn't argue. You couldn't. He literally went to a different organization in his first year.
And that basically, since between their Super Bowl appearances and both wins, of course, they were bad between them, if we're being honest. Like, the Bucs were a wasteland for the most part.
Well, yeah, think about just all the quarterbacks that they had and ran through.
Jameis, Brett Johnson, Josh Freeman,
Mike Glennon.
Glennon was there for a little bit.
McCown was there for a little bit. Fitzpatrick was there.
Yeah.
Oh, bring him back.
Fuck you.
Fitzy's the current oldest quarterback in the NFL now. But
wow, our childhood hero.
Yeah. But it's just amazing that how this kind of feels botched as well, with obviously Schefter tweeting about it, because whoever gave him that information, right, they must have been close to Tom Brady, which, who's Tom telling other than like his parents, his wife, his agent, and maybe like the guy who does TB12 with him? Like, how does that get out is my question.
Here's the thing. Jeff Darlington from ESPN is the one that tweeted it out. Schefter just like subtweeted it. And obviously Schefter has more followers, so he's going to see it. But, like, I don't know if Schefter's the one that like broke the news. It was Jeff Darlington first.
It was but they were both like per Adam Schefter and Darlington. But then Schefter started liking all the tweets that people were making
of him, fun of him,
clowning him. Yeah,
that's the one was from Barcel, where they had him doing the gritty backwards, like Schefter walking back off his Brady retirement tweets. Some of the tweets today too, talking about like Tom Brady retiring, was funny. I like that, where the NBC New York was like, Tom Brady, the quarterback who lost 2 Super Bowls to the New York Giants, is finally retiring after 22 years. It's like they're just downplaying the fact of how great this guy actually is, and that's just shows how awesome he really was. Like, you guys might agree too, me specifically, I hated this man when he was with New England, and then when he finally left and went to Tampa Bay, it's like, oh, I was
forced to like him thanks to you.
Well, yes, but
and
besides
that.
Yeah, but like once
I hated him.
Once he went to Tampa Bay, you'd be like, oh, Tom's actually a funny person. He's doing commercials. He's not a robot and a Terminator on the football field as he was up in New England.
Yeah. He became a lot more likable.
I hated Tom, but also I think there becomes a point where you just gotta, like the Anchorman scene, I hate you, but goddamn if I don't respect you.
Well, that's the thing. I kind of feel like, for me, that was after the Falcons Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Tom had these comebacks throughout his entire career. Like, that was literally, if there's one thing you talk about Tom Brady's like X factor in the NFL, is that no matter how down his teams were, he would find a way to will them to a win. And that is obviously no more prevalent, and it was on the biggest stage in the Super Bowl against the Falcons. Obviously, everyone knows it's 28-3, and they go on to win the Super Bowl in overtime. But he did that throughout his entire career. I saw a picture where there were 9 different instances of his team down 3 scores or more. He was 9-0 in every single one of those games.
Crazy. insane.
Cool,
He's
bro.
best to do it.
Yeah, best to
And
do it.
it's crazy because, like, you think about it. I don't know about you guys, but in these quarterbacks' prime, say 07 to 10, like I don't really remember that. And now, or I didn't really wasn't able to comprehend it. But now,
Well, that's the thing.
you
Yeah,
look
we
at
were
the
very young.
quarterbacks. Yeah,
Like the first dynasty of Brady, we were young for. Like the 07
like
Patriots,
5, 6 years.
that juggernaut, we were 10. I was 10 at least.
Yeah.
You were a little bit
I
younger.
was like 9.
Yeah, but it's like at that point, you're
Yeah.
just like starting to comprehend what football is. Like I just knew, fuck Tom Brady because everyone else in my family is saying fuck Tom Brady at that point. So I was like, yeah, screw him. But then it's just like, and I carry that until like, oh, this guy's unbeatable, it seems. And then like really in college is when I started to appreciate him more, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get to
like
witness like what you're seeing. Like we weren't really alive for the Jordan era, so we're kind of living that through LeBron in this way.
I didn't like LeBron for a really long time until
I couldn't stand
high school. Until I got to high school, and then I was like, okay, like once he started
LeBron was supposed to go to the
against
Nets.
Warriors. No, once he started to go against the Warriors, I was like, okay, this man is the greatest basketball player that I think I've ever seen.
Exactly.
That's the thing. Like we obviously didn't see Babe Ruth. We didn't see Ted Williams. We didn't see Jim Brown. We didn't see Jordan. We didn't see Bird. We didn't see Magic. Like we didn't see Montana. We didn't see Elway. We didn't see Marino.
And we're young.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like this is literally probably the greatest sports figure we've ever seen. I kind of put him above LeBron, honestly.
Oh yeah, because I think he's the unquestioned GOAT
of U.S. sports,
or at least football. I would say. I don't think you can put anybody else up there with him.
Well, in football, I think that the 5 greatest players are Brady, Rice, LT, Reggie White, and Jim Brown, probably, or Walter Payton. You can put up there like they are in their own tier.
Very opinion based. There's so many like ins and outs with that.
No, I agree.
Really is.
But those are some of the more those at their positions. Those are some of the undisputed,
definitely, yeah,
players at their positions.
Yeah. Crazy.
Future's bright.
So
we say goodbye to Tampa.
Tampa
the
Bay,
the 1 year dynasty, really.
They're good. They're not that bad if that defense sticks around, but
offensively, well, that's the big thing. What's next for the Bucks? It's like Godwin's gone, Brown's obviously gone, Fournette's gone, Gronk's probably gone. They have no secondary. So it's like your wide receivers go from Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski to Cameron Brate, Mike Evans, and Scotty Miller.
Scotty Miller, baby.
And
hey, don't
Kyle Trask at quarterback
Johnson
right now.
Don't disrespect my man Tyler Johnson.
They have Blaine Gabbert.
I'm telling you, Trask is QB1.
Probably will be. They'll give him a shot.
The only thing they can afford.
They drafted him in the first round, second round.
Their cap actually isn't.
Give him a shot.
Wouldn't it be something if they somehow land Jimmy G, and then Jimmy G was supposed to be the guy to replace Tom in New England, and now he's the guy replacing Tom in Tampa Bay of Tom's second, third, fourth act of his career.
Give the NFL writers a raise for that one.
Oh, that would be insane, those packages. Yeah, but
hey.
I'm glad to see Tom go, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Glad to see him.
It was time.
I'm not. I mean, he could still go. That's the thing. He can still
he finished the
compete
season
at the highest level,
leading the league in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and passing like completion percentage.
I want to see him till the wheels like legit fell off.
That would be like probably like 50.
I want to see him till 50.
Yeah.
And he had an MVP campaign this year. He probably won't win it, but
he's not going to win it. But
no, honestly, Rodgers is probably going to win it.
No, he probably will. But the fact that at age
Brady
44, 45, whatever Tom is at this point, literally almost won an MVP. That's unheard of.
And it's crazy now that, like Jesse can attest to this, like LeBron now, he's been starting, like the past few years, he's starting his injuries have been piling up after years of just being an Iron Man.
Yeah.
Other than the ACL, Brady has never gotten hurt.
No, the only time he missed games was for the ACL and when he was suspended for Deflategate.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Those literally are the only games he missed.
Yeah, that's it.
That's why it was funny when Goodell released a statement. It's like, you hate this man. And you're acting all nice for him now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any last thoughts on Tom
Switching
Brady?
gears.
Fond memories?
Fond.
Not
Tampa's my
really.
only fond memories with that guy.
Yeah.
What
a class 2027 will be, though.
Thanks for robbing the Colts of probably multiple
At least 3, 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
Steelers probably
Steelers could have got at least another
one or two in there.
Yeah, definitely.
He's probably dog Washington somewhere down the road.
I mean, they beat us in the playoffs last year, but hey, Heineke beat them this year. That's all that matters.
That is true.
All that matters.
Did you see Nick Scott, who has the last interception thrown by Tom Brady, still has that ball?
Oh man!
Yeah,
I
loved threw the last touchdown.
I loved
Evans
Ramsey's tweet.
it.
Ramsey's tweet too was like, "Oh, he threw his last touchdown over my head or something like that."
Yeah, he got burned by the goat.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. But no,
it's amazing that he's finally gone though. Like I'm trying to comprehend that. Like it's gonna be weird next season without him.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm not gonna be upset either.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I know this is probably not going to be this will be a hot take. But, like Patriots should retire at 12.
They will.
They should.
Oh, they will.
Do you think they will?
They'll probably do it at the
sometime
ceremony
next year.
they're having with them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they'll probably announce it there, and they'll probably do it.
Put a statue outside the stadium.
Oh, you're getting a statue.
The Brady Stadium or whatever at this point. The greatest ever. That'll definitely be retired.
Yeah, it sounds like
Bucks
he's going to sign
do
it
it
one
too,
day.
honestly.
They might.
I'd do it.
He's literally their best quarterback they've ever had.
Yeah,
and he did it in 2
Doug
seasons.
Williams, relax.
2 seasons.
Doug Williams, Steve Young. Yeah, okay, they were Bucks. But what did they do for them as Bucks? Williams.
I don't know, man. Josh Freeman was pretty good his rookie year.
Oh my God, Josh Freeman.
Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl with him too, so he's on the same level as Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, Brad Johnson, Josh Freeman in that order.
Goats.
Oh boy. But Tom, he's done. Thank God.
Yes, he is.
All right, what's next?
I know.
What's next?
Dragged on for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, indeed. I try. Well, you know.
Oh, Brady.
Listen,
Brady's gone. Brady is gone.
All
so
right, end the story.
He's
Yeah,
gone.
He's gone.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's gone. So I'm happy. He's gone.
Basically, right when I got home from work, got in my car, the bomb dropped on old WFAN, and that is that.
Unless you dropped the bomb in the toilet.
Hey.
Did that before this podcast.
So wait, you got home from work and then got in your car?
That's a good point. I was thinking the same thing.
Well, I got back into New Jersey from New York, which New Jersey
You got back to your
So you
car
crossed
from
the
work.
line, got out of your car, got back in the car.
Okay, when I got to my car, checked my phone, there was a notification on from Twitter that former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores is filing a class action lawsuit against the NFL and named the New York Giants, Denver Broncos, and the Miami Dolphins with all complaints against them, mainly the Giants being that they interviewed him anyway after they had allegedly offered the job to Brian Daboll already for head coach, which that would then violate the Rooney Rule, which is in place to help minority candidates be interviewed and hopefully find jobs in the NFL. That, of course, being leaked through text messages as well, that Bill Belichick texted the wrong Brian, that he thought he was texting Brian Daboll, congrats on getting the job. And then Brian Flores basically said, I haven't interviewed yet. And also just to clarify, you're texting Brian Flores, not Brian Daboll. And Belichick basically said, I fucked up, and basically leaked that. So that's fun. The Broncos also had a sham interview with him before they hired Vic Fangio, which that worked out well for them. And also with the Miami Dolphins, that the owner offered to pay him $100,000 per loss of a game that he threw going into the 2019 draft in order to get better draft stock, which in that draft was Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Tua. Also, they wanted him to tamper and meet with a star quarterback to recruit him to Miami. So there are a lot of damning stories in this lawsuit that if any one of them are true for the NFL, it is a bad thing coming their way.
Do we doubt that any of this is true? Like, legitimately? I don't think so.
A lot of it is honestly believable, if we're being honest.
Well, and just look at the Rooney Rule is something that was meant to be a good thing and was meant to try to get minority coaches jobs, and it has just been worked around constantly.
And abused.
I remember when the Eagles were hiring Doug Peterson, I believe it was either Doug Peterson or Sirianni, but I believe it was Peterson. They hadn't interviewed anybody for the Rooney Rule yet, and they said, "Oh, no, we're going to interview Deuce Staley, our running backs coach." And then we're like, "No, he is a legit candidate, even though he's only been coaching 2 years." No, he wasn't a legit candidate. You already know the guy that you wanted. And I mean, I think there's an issue there where it's like, yeah, you want to hire the right man for the job, but also if there is 32 NFL head coaches, you're not going to look at me and tell me that Brian Flores is not a top 32 NFL head coach, considering the things he did with that Miami roster, which, by the way, has had the worst rated PFF offensive line the past 2 years. Their grade this year in pass protection at the end of the year out of 100 was 0.
Well, the proof is in the pudding with the Rooney Rule. That is it really working? Probably not, because the only minority coach in the NFL is Mike Tomlin, and it's been 15 years that he's been there. And the other two that were previously in positions as head coaches, David Culley, Brian Flores, both fired. None of them have been replaced by anyone who hasn't been a white man.
Also, let's look at the fact that Jim Caldwell hasn't been back in the NFL for some reason. Jim Caldwell can get you 9 wins. Jim Caldwell should be at least an offensive coordinator.
And especially with what's going on in the North now, potentially, who knows with Rodgers, 9 wins could win that division. The NFC South now could win with 9 wins.
I mean, and you look at Bieniemy can't even buy a job for his life. He's just the best offense in the league.
I was talking to Bologna about this on the way home. Bieniemy and Dable virtually did similar feats where look at what Bieniemy helped turn Mahomes into. Look what Dable helped turn Josh Allen into. Well, if we're being honest, wouldn't you want either one of them?
Definitely.
But here's the argument that people make that doesn't even make sense anymore is, well, the Chiefs just go so deep into the playoffs. How can anybody interview Bieniemy?
You can take interviews. Whenever.
Just wait. You can just wait to hire him. You don't need to hire a coach like
look at
too early.
Look what happened with McDaniels. He was interviewing for the Colts job, before Reich.
Yeah.
He was interviewing as they were going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it right now. Yeah.
You can do it whenever. It's a matter of if you want to leave your current team to go, like what people do in college, which we don't see in the NFL. But how many times did we see it? We're like, oh, they're in position to be this next. Wasn't that Kyle Shanahan basically with the Falcons?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's funny that this is the thing that gets leaked out from Bill Belichick, not like the Deflategate or the Spygate or any of that stuff. It's a mistake text message. I think that's just hilarious that this is how that came out and all that to Flores. But it's horrible. It's just god awful that this is existing right now.
Like I was listening to the peak of, Sports Talk Radio, Carton Roberts, which, oh boy. But they actually brought up a good example where Boomer Esiason, which we know Boomer from the morning show on WFAN, he did a Sports Minute, which is just a sports update, about the Giants hiring Brian Daboll. And in that, he said, the Giants intend to hire Brian Daboll and offered him the job earlier in the week, but they have to wait for the formal hiring process to be completed. And that was and if that's the case, that's pretty damning right there too, because clearly someone gave him the information to say that, or that he knew about that to bring that up.
Something else that's interesting that hasn't been brought up at all, and I don't expect to be brought up. 3-4 days ago, DraftKings still had bets up for the Giants' open head coach position, and Daboll was a plus 100 option, but if he was already offered the job, you could still have bet Flores, even though he wasn't really an option.
That's wild.
So that's also interesting. I don't think they'll talk about that, but that could be a thing of honestly, insider information and tampering with books and such as that, of those still being available when the job was already offered.
And the ironic thing is, because this is a lot of just bad optics and implied racism in the Giants organization, because John Mara, one of the owners of the Giants, is on the committee to help improve the Rooney Rule. So right then and there, he's skirting his own committee that he's trying to help improve. And then also he was in a press conference, when they wrapped up and fired everybody, saying that they are interested in Brian Flores and want to interview him. So it's was that just a song and dance to cover himself? Or is it when they brought in Joe Sheen that, I want Daboll, that's, hire me and that's who I'm taking no matter what. But it's clearly some disconnect happened there between A to B. It's that just doesn't look good either.
Yeah, I don't I don't doubt, like, don't get me wrong. I don't think the Giants are any more at fault than probably majority of other teams in the NFL when looking at the Rooney Rule. Most teams have a guy that they lock in on, and they just want to get him
to check off the boxes.
To check off the boxes, pretty much, usually. So, I mean, the Giants are getting caught with also what the Broncos did apparently too, and all of the NFL. I mean, it's gonna come out. I think this is gonna get bigger. You're gonna have more coaches probably jump in, and I mean, you look at a guy like just pulling Leslie Frazier. Yeah, he had a head coaching opportunity in Minnesota years and years ago where they paired him up with Christian Ponder, but he's been an incredible defensive coordinator ever since and hasn't gotten a head coaching job. And you look around at other guys, even the coach before Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona,
Steve Wilkes.
He's never been heard of again.
Vance Joseph too. He's somewhere. Is he somewhere?
Was there 1 year and then was fired. I mean, it's rampant. It's all over the league, and I think this is probably going to move towards maybe not a class action lawsuit, but other coaches, I think, are going to jump in on this suit with Flores, and there's going to be something done.
You know, the other obviously big social justice issues with race brought up in the NFL within 5 years, of course, was Colin Kaepernick, where he was essentially blackballed for speaking out what he believed in. Now, this basically makes Flores unhireable by most teams because who's going to want to hire the guy?
I think at the end of this, they're going to make sure he gets a job.
Probably.
But at the same point, it's like, are they just making him a martyr? Be like, oh, or like self-pity?
Oh, definitely. That's the case. Yeah, probably.
I mean, yeah, well, we have to see how this all plays out. But honestly, good for Flores.
I agree. This takes balls for him to do this.
Yeah,
because he's putting his career and livelihood. Like, he's not a player or whoever that had millions of dollars in his bank account already that he could live off of. He was a coach for 3 years. Obviously, he's probably gonna get paid however long his contract with the Dolphins were, 3, 4, 5 years. But then after that, it's like
made an extra couple $100K if he threw some games,
So let's talk about that, right? So quick, the Dolphin side of things, this is from ESPN. These are just a few paragraphs. In it, Flores alleges Dolphins owner Stephen Ross attempted to incentivize him to tank or purposely lose games shortly after he was hired in 2019, with Ross allegedly offering Flores $100,000 for every loss that season. Flores says that as the team won games late in the season, Dolphins GM Chris Greer told him that Ross was mad with Flores on the team's on-field success that was compromising their draft position. Additionally, Flores alleges pressured him into recruiting a prominent quarterback at the end of the 2019 season, which Flores refused, so not as to violate the NFL tampering rules. Ross then alleged invited Flores onto a yacht for lunch in the winter of 2020, where he informed him that the quarterback he was coveting arriving at the marina for an impromptu meeting. Flores again refused the meeting and left the yacht. Afterward, Flores alleges he was treated with disdain and held out as someone who was non-compliant and difficult to work with, which that I believe, because when he was fired from Miami, that's what we heard immediately. So that was them trying to tell the story their way and make him sound unhireable and stick it to him. So I kind of believe that.
I do believe that they definitely put some untrue biases out there against him. The whole thing with the $100,000, if Flores has like receipts of this, that like text messages or something, Dolphins are screwed. If not, it's going to be tough to prove that this was offered. The whole thing with the luncheon on the yacht, I mean, I just hear that now. He was set up. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Just this guy. I mean, who could it have been?
I wonder if it was like Watson.
Ooh, probably.
He wasn't a free agent though.
What if it was Brady?
But what if he was trying to force his way out?
Potentially,
it technically could be Brady. Was Flores on the staff when Brady was in New England? I would have to assume so.
Probably,
maybe,
definitely.
He was. I know Flores was a New England guy. I don't know exactly what years he was.
I'll get you an answer real quick
there. But I mean, if they were recruiting Brady, and he was in Florida, visiting Tampa, it makes sense.
Flores was from on the team as an executive, as a scouting assistant and pro scout from 04 to 07, and on the coaching staff from 08 to 2018. So yeah, there's a lot.
So he's probably best friends with
Brady. He had
all
the time with Brady. So yeah, I mean that could be Brady, it could be Watson,
could be Carson Wentz.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad for the Dolphins.
Because the fact that tanking, if they're telling him to, if you could prove tanking, that's in theory.
You'll probably
that's fixing games, and if that's the case, Stephen Ross should be removed as owner of the Miami Dolphins and forced to sell.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Say it, Jesse. Go ahead.
I
Daniel Snyder.
They won't. I mean, they won't remove him if they're not going to remove Snyder.
Snyder
the only time we've ever seen
Snyder did horrible things against people. If Ross is impacting the league negatively on a on-field result standpoint, especially now with how much money is invested in gambling and sports betting, if that hurts,
tough because there's been other teams that have tanked.
Yeah,
look at the Colts with Luck. I mean, people are saying that was a complete tank job.
We stunk.
There's obviously.
I mean, Irsay definitely wasn't paying Caldwell because they fired him at the end of that season anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that looks bad, especially in the NFL when every game matters so much. That does look really bad.
And this is just kind of like looking forward, bigger picture. Justin, we talked, it kind of sucks for Daboll now that he's kind of thrown in the middle of this. He obviously, he's just doing it. Oh, they're going to offer me the job. Sweet. I'm going to take it.
That's the thing. It's like he inadvertently gets caught in the crossfire because it's like he did nothing wrong. He applied for a job he wanted and he got it. It just happens that unfortunately he's getting caught in the crossfire with all this now.
Yeah. And I mean, this could definitely affect free agents going to the Giants as well.
Well, what about all the current players?
Joe Judge had free agents coming in.
Then players
he got Kenny Golladay.
Let's be honest for a second. As sad as it is, at the end of the day, what's going to happen? Giants are going to lose a 7th round pick and $100,000 in fines, and then nothing's going to change. That's what it happens.
Yeah, that'll be what happens with the Giants. But I think the NFL lawsuit has
some legs.
Potential. That has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Well, this will definitely be a big story throughout the offseason, so we'll definitely keep tabs on that. When we come back, we're going to talk about some coaching hiring so far in the NFL, as well as some coach that might be making an NFL return as well. And then we will get finally to the conference championship games from this past weekend. And then we'll talk about the Super Bowl a little bit, but we'll save our predictions for a later date for another podcast. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back for the second half.
Another
half.
We got a lot of NFL news going on here in the first half of the podcast. We talk about the Brian Flores lawsuit and Tom Brady retiring. He's gone, right, Jesse?
He's gone, and you're not sad.
Not at all. So let's talk about some other coaching news around the league. Obviously, Giants hire Brian Daboll. That's what the whole hubbub is.
Got that one out of the way already.
Yep. Raiders hire Josh McDaniels, and the Bears hire Matt Eberflus. So Josh McDaniels is going back to the AFC West, out to Vegas, leaving the nest finally and officially again.
So unexpected. Like his name was just not in any coaching things, and they're like, "Yep, he's hired." It's kind of random.
That's a Raiders move, always.
It's a good move. This one, I think.
They brought in the GM from the Patriots as well, or the assistant GM over to help him out. So you probably weren't getting one without the other, basically, if we're being honest.
Brady to Vegas now, right?
Brady to Vegas.
Mark Davis wanted him the first go around. Like he was ready to freaking leave Derek Carr in Oakland, basically, it sounded like.
That's funny.
Derek Carr's got to be mad. He wanted
Bisaccia.
He wanted
Bisaccia to stay.
I mean, I don't know about this hiring yet. I don't know if Josh McDaniels is a good head coach. I don't even really know if he's a good offensive coordinator, to be honest.
That's kind of true.
So much of that was Brady and Belichick and other stuff. And I mean, like Bill O'Brien looked good as the offensive coordinator there. I don't know if it's going to work. Honestly, probably not. If anything holds true with the Raiders, this probably isn't going to be a good hire in 3 years.
Well, he was in Denver for 2 years, and he had an 11-17 overall record. And
It was worse than that, though. He
Yeah.
lost that locker room and team.
Quick.
Like,
That's
at
what
the
he
end
said.
of it,
they hated him.
Like him.
Well, that's what he said in his press conference, where he was like, since my time away, he's like, I realized I was bad as a head coach in Denver, and I learned how important it is to actually build a culture and like have not a toxic work environment, basically. So we'll be interested to see if he actually puts that into practice rather than just saying it. But the Raiders are in a weird spot. It's like, is this kind of like the ceiling of the team? How much more can they add? Like, will he make Derek Carr better than he is?
They took the Bengals all the way to the final snap, and the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. So,
yeah.
I mean, trust me though, I don't. That Raiders team isn't beating the Titans or the Chiefs. But no, I mean the Raiders isn't. I mean, I feel bad saying this about the Raiders, but like, come on, this is the Raiders. They're always in flux. They have like talented guys, but they never have like the right amount of talented guys. They always have at least like 1 to 2 like massive issues. It's usually like the offensive line. And since they've had Derek Carr, it's been like the receivers. They're still struggling with that. They're just a middle team. Like this is what they've been.
I think because this is still a Gruden team, right? It's like this is Gruden's vision.
Yeah,
and
of course.
The best course of action, what I think for the Raiders personally, is just reset it now. Let Ziegler or whatever his name is and McDaniel let them build it in what they think. Yeah, he was a great talent evaluator, but Gruden ignored all of that. Earlier on. If you weren't from Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, or Alabama, they did not draft you. Literally, in the Gruden era, their first round picks came from those schools and those schools alone.
Yes. And then they hit on so many late round prospects that Mayock hit on.
Because that's probably when Gruden stopped giving a shit.
That's when Gruden stopped caring. He didn't care after the second round. And I mean, like you this past year was probably the most egregious when they grabbed Leatherwood, who could have been there legitimately like a whole round later at the very least. I think Mayock deserves a shot because they brought him in for his drafting ability, and he hit on his drafts that they let him do.
Look at Hunter Renfrow, right? 5th round pick, but out of Clemson. And what did he do in Clemson? Won a national championship game. So clearly that went on Gruden's radar. But it's like Damon Arnett, Cleveland Farrell, Leatherwood, literally Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson.
Yeah. And also, I mean, Ruggs wasn't exactly turning into a fantastic receiver before the, incident, I'll say. He was a great speedster, and that's what they drafted him for. But he was also a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm willing to give it a shot still. I'm still.
No, so am I.
Yeah,
it's just interesting.
I'm not going either way yet. I don't know if Josh McDaniels is a good coach or a bad coach, but I do think Mayock deserved a shot. Yeah.
But what the crucial thing is for me is, where is this team going to go? Are they going to keep the roster in place and roll with it? Or are they going to rebuild? Because here's the thing. If they keep the team in place and roll with it and it fails, that's then a black eye on McDaniels, which kind of accelerates his clock of potentially getting the axe then, because it's showing like, oh, it's not working out with a playoff team. What happened here?
I mean, they need a lot. I mean, this defense, other than Max Crosby, Nate Hobbs is solid, but he was also arrested like
a DUI literally the day after
for the game.
Diablo is good too.
Who?
Diablo, the safety.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
there's some pieces. They're going to start the year off 3-0. We're going to say, oh, are the Raiders legit? They're going to lose the next 4, win the next 3, and they're going to be fighting for the final playoff spots. The same thing every year, unless they can get unless Derek Carr can recruit like Devontae Adams. I don't think anything's going to change.
They want him.
They desperately need a number 1 receiver, like so badly.
Well, I mean, Carr and him are boys. That's why, but.
You can't tell me that your number 1 receiver is Hunter Renfrow, who's your slot, and then who's lining up at your X is Brian Edwards.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, like I said though, I'll give it a shot. I'll see how he does. I mean, he was impressive with the rookie this year as an OC. I mean, he was kind of carried by Brady all these years, with doing it with Brady. I'm willing to see what he does. I think they are going to run back this team. They're not going to really rebuild like you guys were saying. They'll add maybe a piece or two here because they know they just missed the playoffs by a game. So I really do think they just try to stick with the core, give that a shot, and maybe rebuild then next year. If not, I think McDaniels is around for at least, 1 year with this team and maybe at least 1 year with the next team. If not, unless he's successful and continues. If he's not, then maybe it's the boot after the 2 years. But I'm okay with this hire. I'm okay with this one.
Mm-hmm. So the Bears are a young team with a young quarterback with a coaching vacancy. So you would think, oh, let's go and get an offensive-minded coach. And the Bears do what the Bears do best and want defense. So they go out and hire Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus.
Horrible hire, I think, just because of Fields. I mean, you have a young mind in Fields. You have a young talent in Fields. Who was kind of, switching reps with Dalton here and there throughout the season. So, didn't show his full potential this year. And like you just said, Justin, you want an offensive coordinator, an offensive minded person to run the playbook and, make up these designed runs for Fields and all that. And then they hire a DC, like we just said, in Eberflus. I don't like this. I have nothing good about this.
It's the big swing and you know what? This guy's runs a good system. Maybe he'll work out as head coach. I mean, on the quarterback side of things, a lot of that's going to rely on the OC. And I'm looking here. They hired Luke Getsy, the Green Bay Packers QB coach, who is 37. So another young McVay type guy that everyone's trying to search for. Will it work? I don't know. But I did think they were going to go with a more veteran offensive mind.
I like Eberflus. I think this is a year kind of early for him, I would say at the very least. I thought the Colts defense was good, but it also got burned at times. And again, I thought he was a good coach, but he didn't run like a crazy hard scheme. The Colts pretty much
ran a basic
they ran a cover 2 shell the whole year. Exactly. Much. Cover 2, 3, 4 pretty much the whole year. So I mean, he's not reinventing the wheel.
It's like obviously he's not going to have Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner there, but he's going to have a relatively decent defense in place. Eddie Jackson, Khalil Mack, when he comes back healthy.
And it's like you have that many players though that like you didn't need to go defense. Really.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe the QB coach from the Packers works, and maybe it does work out. I don't think you necessarily have to have a offensive coach for a young player at head coach. When you look at like the Bills had Dabble, but McDermott and Allen also have a really good relationship. Flores and Tua had a terrible relationship from the beginning. Like they didn't want each other. As long as even Tomlin and Ben, like Tomlin is not an offensive guy, but he always had trust in Ben. You need a head coach quarterback relationship, I think, is the most important thing. So hopefully Eberflus can kind of put his arms around Fields and they can kind of move forward, and maybe he can kind of rework that defense that was really good 3 years ago but hasn't been nearly as good the past couple of years.
Yeah, so only time will tell with Eberflus. And it's interesting, Frank Reich has a little bit of a coaching tree going out now, with Sirianni going out to Philly, now Eberflus going out to Chicago. He lost both his coordinators, so we'll see how the
Eberflus is taking his boys with him too. Some of his boys,
the linebackers.
That's crazy to think too. The Colts didn't even make the playoffs.
Facts.
Like the Colts didn't even make the playoffs, and they lost like 4 coordinators
and coaches. Yep,
and coaches. Yeah,
just fired a couple too.
Yeah. So the big coaching rumor that's been stewing for a few years since he left the NFL initially is, when is Jim Harbaugh coming back to the NFL after his tenure in Michigan? He had the best season he has had since he's been the head coach there, getting to the national championship. No, he didn't even make it. The playoffs, lost it in the first round.
Booty clapped.
Yeah, not even really competitive. And we all thought it would be Miami, since Stephen Ross is a Michigan alum. Okay. And he said, I'm not going to be the guy to take him out of Miami, which, with this lawsuit, boy, you don't want any more targets on your back. But the team, surprisingly, that seems to be linked to him out of all the vacancies that are left, which are the Saints, the Vikings, the Jags, it's going to be the Vikings that might lure Harbaugh back to the NFL. And if there's one thing that we've known about Harbaugh is that he can rehab quarterbacks. So can he do what he did with Alex Smith to Kirk Cousins, which turned him from a bust of a first overall pick to a relatively decent quarterback?
I'm going to say
this now. Haven't hired a GM yet, right?
No, they did.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
The guy from the Browns.
Yes, yes.
A scouting director.
The nerd they call him on ESPN a lot.
Yeah, he's like a finance whiz. That's like he's got like an MBA from like Harvard or something.
Yeah. Sorry, Clark. I didn't mean to cut you off. I
just
they did have a GM, or if Harbaugh was going to have like final say over the roster. If they
all I was going to say is that if this hire goes down as Harbaugh returning, Vikings 100% winning the division next year. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean,
I think
especially with the Rodgers news. I mean, Bears might be a little competitive with Fields. Lions are still in the dumps. I mean. It's just, you know, you're kind of
that seems like that's almost the Vikings kind of reading the room then at that point, because
it's perfect roster timing.
Constructive wise, yes, the defense is lacking, but offensively, depending on what happens with Rodgers, they're the best offense far and away in the division.
Jefferson, Cook, definitely.
And
I mean, like you said,
they have a lot of free agents on that defense, though,
and they're getting old.
But
too.
that also means though they could
too.
Replace them, hopefully. Well, Barr is old. Pat Pete was a 1-year deal, I think.
Yeah,
Harrison Smith's too. He's getting up there in age.
I mean,
and if Harbaugh comes in and doesn't want to keep Cousins, I mean, they have Kellen Mond if they really want to see what he's got.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think you can also trade Cousins. I think Cousins has some value.
I take him.
I think back.
I think Cousins has value in the league. I think you can get a pick for him. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if at that point they go and draft a guy. Somebody sent me something earlier that Malik Willis is lighting up the Senior Bowl. So,
oh boy, he's
I'm telling you, I've been saying this. I said in the beginning of the year, this quarterback class is not good. But as we got closer and closer, I said everybody is way too low on this quarterback class. There is at least a starter or two in this class. It's not one of those Geno Smith years or the EJ Manuel, Christian Ponder.
Side pivot on the Senior Bowl. Did you see that Kenny Pickett is getting his hands measured at a later date because he's double jointed in his thumb, so it points in a weird direction sometimes. So he's working on straightening it out. So at his pro day and combine, it's measured so it doesn't seem small. Because remember, Joe Burrow has small hands, and he'll never work out in the NFL.
Say, you know who has small hands? Joe Burrow.
Justin does.
Justin does.
I think there's. I think
bear paw.
I don't know. There's a good chance. I think like.
Well, you're in the great state of Michigan, Jesse. What are you hearing?
Well, I already said the one thing. A bunch of places have said about Matt Patricia. If Harbaugh leaves, Matt Patricia might slide into Michigan.
So rumor going around Boston.
Hey, that's great for me because I'm a Michigan State guy.
No,
it's literally all over Twitter, just on Michigan people talking about it. Yeah.
Location services don't help.
Justin, I'm curious. If Harbaugh takes the job in Minnesota, does he have to move far, you think?
What are you trying to get at?
Where's Minnesota?
How far do you think Minnesota is?
How far do you think it is?
All the way out west?
Yeah, it's not that far. It's over a little bit.
Over a little bit. Okay.
Where is
Oklahoma's also over a little bit.
No, but that would just be of all teams, like Minnesota is just
weird.
I think it's interesting because it gives you a blank slate, kind of because of all the old players that are probably going out.
That's the thing. He could rebuild the defense in a way, and he would have cap room that he could work with.
Yeah, and they have studs on offense, and they have young players on offense, and that line is getting progressively better.
Yeah. I mean, this would be cool. It could be nice. A nice little championship run right there. I mean, not Super Bowl, but divisional championship.
Divisional run.
Probably a booted first round.
So,
the Vikings are, but yeah.
Jess, you know how we're talking about all that cap space the Vikings could have?
Yeah.
They don't.
They don't because of Kirk Cousins.
Don't. They are currently, let's see, in total cap space in the NFL.
Oh God.
Jesse dipped. Have fun editing that again.
He probably locked his phone. Great. The Vikings are 29th in cap space with negative 14 million currently.
Nice.
They honestly should look with the value that quarterbacks are this year. And, let's be honest, Russ isn't getting moved. Rodgers knows exactly where he wants to go, probably.
Jimmy G, they're working on something.
Jimmy G, that's one team, but there's 7 teams that need
Probably
a QB.
yeah.
If I'm
Minnesota, staying put.
Yeah, if I'm Minnesota,
hold on to Cousins.
Dude, I would take Cousins. I would love to take him back.
You like that?
New name, same quarterback. Yeah, but
yeah.
It sounds like the news will be coming sometime this week, though. It seems very imminent. Anything from the Norman? No.
LMAO, my app just froze and crashed. I don't know if my screen went blank or if I left.
I don't know if he's coming back or not. So,
well.
All
right, how much is really left?
Yeah, yeah, I'm fine with it. So, let's get to the championship games, because amazing that Championship Sunday is the 4th item on the old rundown here. In the AFC, the matchup people were expecting to be a blowout. Bengals beat the Chiefs surprisingly in overtime on the leg of Evan McPherson, 27-24. And when we saw the coin toss go the Chiefs' way, I think we all just said kind of the same thing. Josh Allen tweeted, "Pain." And here we go again.
Pain. I'm going to say this now. If the Super Bowl winds up being a good game, this might be one of the best postseasons
ever
in a little while.
Yeah, in our lifetime for sure.
I mean, wild card round was a little blowout ski. Some games,
but division round was epic.
Divisional championship round.
50 million viewers that average that divisional round. That's crazy. Unheard of.
That's crazy.
The World Series gets 11 million. That's so bad.
That's why the NFL.
Look at the state of both. Yeah, look at the state of both sports. Baseball doesn't know when the season's going on right now, and the NFL is doing their great numbers. No, what a game this was. I mean, we all said the Chiefs were going to win. We were all wrong. Burrow continues, and that offense continues to prove everybody wrong. We said with the Chiefs D-line was going to get to Burrow. We said that the Titans D-line was going to get to Burrow.
They did, though.
They did, but I mean, they just continue to prove the odds. And we're going to say it again in our next podcast that Aaron Donald, Von Miller are going to get to Burrow.
Well, the heroes of it are the defense coming up with stops when it matters.
Yeah.
Von Miller getting interception.
3 points in the second half and overtime altogether for the Chiefs. That's insane.
At one point, they were down 21-3, I think it was, or whatever it was.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
A lot of people called the Trey Hendrickson signing overpaid and Sam Hubbard's extension as well. And they are
He's been their best defender.
Yeah. They're 2 game wreckers. And instead of going for the one big name CB, I mean, they just got a bunch, they got 4 solid guys. I mean, Eli Apple sucks, but he's just going to brag and
a lot of
talk
trash.
shit.
Yeah, it's so funny.
But good game for the Bengals. Burrow's still doing the magic. And you know what? I want to say in 2 weeks it's going to be a blowout, but I thought this was going to be a blowout.
I physically don't know. He said that every single week. The Bengals are outgunned. The defense is going to fall apart. Joe Burrow's going to die on the field. He's very close to doing it a few times, it seemed. But they're winning, and it doesn't make sense.
They're winning. And sometimes teams just go on this run, and it's a magical season for them. So
2017 Eagles.
I was thinking of this today. Let's say the Bengals win the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, boy.
Next year, Burrow continues the success. What is that extension going to look like?
It'll be more than Josh Allen and Mahomes.
That's insane. I mean,
you're talking
deserved, but yeah,
on the minimum 35 to 40 million annually.
Sheesh.
Honestly, they should start working on the extension now, and they still have 3 years of control with a 5th-year option.
Yeah, so it can kick in.
It would kick in 3 seasons, because they have this year, next year of his rookie deal, the 5th-year option, technically 2 tags if they really wanted to. But they should really just work on the extension now. Get it over with.
They should. They really should. Because look how he turned around this franchise. I mean, obviously they drafted.
They won 6 games in 2 years, and he was the first overall pick. And in 2 years, they're in the Super Bowl. That's with him missing time
last year
from tearing an ACL.
Yeah, and he's the first number 1 overall pick quarterback to lead his Super Bowl the team to the Super Bowl. So that's a cool thing too.
Did you see
about Stafford? Stafford was number 1 overall.
He was number 1.
Did he? Wait, did you say he's the only number 1 to bring his team to the Super Bowl? I guess with the original team. Okay. You're right.
Peyton did it.
I could have swore that someone said that stat
Cam
on
Newton
like
did
TV. So someone said
someone
that
fucked
stat
up
on
somewhere
TV.
then.
Yeah,
But it's a
they said it like
low
multiple
number.
times too.
It's a low number. It's a low number. I'll give you that, Clark.
Yeah, no, they said it
I saw a
multiple
stat where
times, too.
he could potentially be the first player to win the Heisman, National Championship, and Super Bowl.
That's wild.
And he could potentially do it within 3 years of each one happening.
That's insane.
I can't believe it too, because like we all, 1 year of success at LSU, and obviously the success was.
Well, that was my thing. It's like, okay, let's see how he plays in the NFL, and then the ACL happened. But then it's like, okay, this year it's like, okay, he has some juices going. He's, he could be it, and now he's in the Super Bowl. It's like, fuck it, yep, he's good. He's it. He's what everyone thought.
And I know the O-line sucks, but props to the Bengals for just listening and going after Jamar. Like, just props.
Yeah, it worked.
Like,
definitely.
No, never mind. I was going to say, I thought the Dolphins took Waddle over him, but no, Jamar was the right pick. I mean, but they've been kind of building this offense up. I mean, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Mixon.
Uzama can't stay healthy, but he's a good tight end. It's
Both
really
tight
just
ends
an
might be
offensive
out
line.
for the Super Bowl.
If they don't throw any, if they just need to throw the house, go sign Brandon Sheriff and draft some offensive linemen.
Who was their good tight end?
Tyler Eifert.
Eifert, yeah. He was good. I forgot about it.
Yeah, until he started getting hurt every other play.
He went to Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on the Chiefs side of things, Hill did nothing in the second half. Mahomes
shut him down.
Looked human. He was making errors that the Bengals were taking, advantage of.
So this isn't the first time this season the Bengals did this to the Chiefs when they played a couple of weeks ago towards the end of the season, back when it was in Cincinnati. I mean, they did the exact same thing. They held like Kelsey and Hill to combined like 60 yards, I think, that whole game, which is nuts because of how much Mahomes feeds them. No, like you said earlier, props to the defense for just shutting them down. I mean, Mahomes' pick in overtime wasn't really necessarily his fault because it was, it was tipped by the Bengals and then intercepted, but could have tight window, but not necessarily his fault, but still threw an interception when it mattered. Could have found a more open receiver, or threw it away or whatever and whatnot. I mean, they're fine though. The Chiefs are still a good team. As long as they keep these pieces like we talked about,
some people
they'll be back in this position again.
Some people were a little too eager to call them a dynasty right off the rip.
A couple people did.
A few people, but you got to win a little bit more.
They had to win like one or two more.
Yeah. So let's talk about the NFC Championship game now. And that was the 49ers and the Rams. And at first, it looked like it was a Niners home game because there were a lot of Niner fans. So it seemed like trying to location lock ticket sales didn't really work too much for them there.
Nope.
But the end of the day, same type of scenario. Jimmy G throws a pick at the end of the game to send the Rams to the Super Bowl, and which will probably be, it's kind of shaping out to sound like, was his last game in a Niners uniform. But Matt Stafford can do only what Tom Brady has done. Take his team in the first year to the Super Bowl in their home stadium.
Crazy. It never happened.
It took 55 years to get it one time, and now we're going to get it back-to-back years. Only in the NFL.
Crazy. No, they played well. The defense played well for the Rams. Kupp is a monster. He's carrying that offense with Stafford. Having Cam Akers back on that in the backfield is fantastic. You can toss in Sony Michel a little bit here and there. The defense is phenomenal. Von Miller, Odell, great signings that they signed throughout the year. I mean, crazy.
The all-in approach is working and paying off for the Rams. Yeah. And them pushing all their chips in the table, saying Jared Goff isn't good enough to win us a Super Bowl. He got us to one, though. And going out and getting Matt Stafford, it's proving McVay right that he needed his guy. Now, can they win it? We'll see. But here they are again. And really the last thing Aaron Donald needs on his Hall of Fame resume already is a ring. And they have a chance to do it again.
Literally. He's already a Hall of Famer. He's already
5-6 years.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's all he needs. And he even pointed to his ring after the game. I mean, ring finger after the game. They're coming hot. They're coming heavy. I mean, a lot of these same Rams who are on that Super Bowl team are still sort of around here and there.
From that first team.
Yeah. So,
Whitworth, baby.
It's amazing. He's playing in the Super Bowl against the team he came into the league with and played for like 11, 12 years. So that's got to be something for him. And he had a nice quote basically saying, He's like, I still know people in that organization. He's like, I played a role in playing where they are now. It's like, yeah, because you were on terrible teams.
He's a Hall of Famer.
He probably will be. But it's just like, wow, this is shaping up to be some Super Bowl now.
It's gonna be a good one. Back to the NFC Championship. I know a lot of people want to immediately just, Jimmy G sucks. He's the reason they lost. Again, that throw at the end was terrible, but like it hit the running back square in the hands.
His fault. Yeah.
Also, Jimmy Ward, or was it Jaquiski Tartt? One of the two. He dropped a pick that hit him right in the chest as well, I think early in the game. So it's like there was a few other factors, but it's obviously always going to fall on the quarterback when a team loses.
And it's like people were calling for Jimmy, like, he's done, get him out earlier in the year. And then here it comes. Wins first round, wins second round in Green Bay. And they make it a really, really close game. I know they blew a 10-point lead in this game, but I'd be lucky. A lot of teams would be lucky to have Jimmy G as a QB. So he's definitely going to be on the move. Reports already coming out that they're working on a trade to send him somewhere. But the Jalen Ramsey's, that is, Clark, heading to the bowl. Well deserved too.
Yeah.
Good for Stafford. I'm happy for him.
Me too. Any last thoughts, Clark?
No, I'm just excited. It's a good Super Bowl. I mean, two quarterbacks who are very likable, two teams who are kind of likable too. Like, I'm cool.
This is the first Super Bowl in a while. I can sit down and watch and be like, okay, I don't really care who wins.
Exactly.
I'd like Stafford to get a win, because he deserves it for riding away in Detroit. Burrow,
also, that's a crazy story of Burrow.
Well, that's the thing. The story with the Bengals is why we love sports to begin with. That it's the underdog story, but it's like, let's maybe pump the brakes a little bit for Burrow. Like, let's let Stafford get one first. But that's kind of where I'm leading. But we'll talk about our Super Bowl picks and predictions and look at that whole game later on next week, and then maybe we'll do a few other pods here or there. Baseball. Who the hell knows what they're doing? There's an NBA trade deadline coming up in a few days, 10 days, I think it is.
Happened. Literally 10 days from now, the deadline is. And
nothing has moved either. So if there is movement, we'll cover that. Yeah. I really don't know what else we're doing. But Clark,
we're not going to do a Rumble pod because that was Saturday and it's Tuesday. So let me just say, Jesse's not here. It doesn't matter. But
do a little. Who won? You have the
Jesse
numbers.
And I tied.
Oh,
so
I want to recount.
Okay.
I technically won because I did say the Shield would come back, and they did drop Moxie's name in there. So
they did. They
just saying,
you won the horniest award.
Me? What does that mean?
We'll talk later.
No, Jesse and I tied. I'm leading with 2 wins. Jesse has 1. Justin still has 0. What else is new? Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Sports Department Podcast. I'm Justin said what's going on. Make sure you guys follow and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at SportsDepPod, at SportsDPT Pod. Stay tuned if we do any of those other stuff, and see you in the next episode.